What's going on, guys? It's your boy Tom Trash, and today I'm back with another video. With it being my birthday this week, I thought today we would go on my wrestling journey and I would tell you guys how I got into wrestling, content creating, and everything in between. So let's get into it, guys. I guess if we take this back to the beginning as to where I first discovered wrestling as a fan, I first discovered wrestling when I had to go into hospital for some medical needs, and I remember they had a Blockbuster in basically a video rental shop in the hospital itself, and every week I would go down and pick out a movie or a TV show. And I remember this one particular week I went down and I found WrestleMania 22, which had Mick Foley on the cover being speared through the flaming table by Edge. And coincidentally, guys, because people had watched that show so much, that was the first match I got to see, basically. And honestly, I can honestly say this, and this is no disrespect to who was the first people on that card. Big Show and Kane versus Carlito and Chris Masters. I don't think I'd be watching wrestling if that was the first match I saw, because this first match really captivated me. I remember thinking, wait, this is in a ring, like boxing, but they're getting able to hit each other with weapons? That's so cool. And then obviously I would see later down the line, as I got into my fandom, how wrestling was put together and stuff like that. And then basically, so that was the first match I ever saw, and then after that I just became the fan that would collect the pay-per-view DVDs every month to basically catch up on the pay-per-views because I couldn't watch them live. So I discovered this show in, as I said, WrestleMania 22 in 2009, 3 years after it aired. So around the end of 2009, I am at my dad's quite regularly, and he has Sky Sports. So I'm beginning to watch wrestling, the current product, a bit more regularly. And I remember around this time, Undertaker was the World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk did his straight edge gimmick, and Rey Mysterio and Batista were a tag team. I remember at the pay-per-view Bragging Rights, I believe it was called, they had a Fatal 4-Way match where Undertaker won after pinning Batista, after Rey Mysterio cost him the match. But I remember that match, but the thing I remember most from that pay-per-view was after the match, a interviewer of some description basically was in the ring with Batista and Rey Mysterio, and he was asking them how they felt about losing, and Batista basically puts his hand on Rey Mysterio's shoulder and says he's tired of coming this close, and then basically it leads to him saying to Rey Mysterio, "You're supposed to be my best friend," and then beating him down and turning into a bad guy. I remember thinking at the time, because something I didn't mention in the WrestleMania 22 thing was Batista was someone that I found really cool, because he had the shades, he wore suits, he was muscular and stuff like that. So I just thought he was like a real life superhero. I loved this because I really enjoyed basically seeing the superhero in action, even though he was doing bad things. Then in around 2000 and the end of 2011, I think, I got out of wrestling for a while. The reason I stopped watching wrestling was because I went to a special needs school. Shout out to Longsdale School, if anyone watches this from Longsdale. Was a great place to go and stuff like that. But they also had a residential department, which meant I would be staying there 2 nights a week. Unfortunately, this would be the nights that wrestling aired. It would be Monday, and at the time I believe SmackDown in the UK aired on a Tuesday on tape delay, so I missed out on that. But I still cherished the stuff that I had, like the DVDs that I had and etc. And I was keeping up with the current product, but the internet was still not great and things like that. But then I remember in 2013, a guy called Brandon, who was on my flat, shout out to him if he ends up watching this, basically had a copy of, and I remember what it was now, it was a copy of WrestleMania 26, where Shawn Michaels retired thanks to The Undertaker. He had a copy of that, and we basically begged Housemaster, I believe they were called, if I've got that wrong, and anyone comments that in the comments, I do apologise, where we basically got to watch the show after some begging, we'll be honest. And then after that, we discovered that Brandon had, or I discovered, should I say, that Brandon had an iPad. And we basically would watch all of the weekly programming on his iPad when we went to residential. And that rekindled my love for wrestling. And I'm going to be honest, guys, it's been about 10, 12 years. And I have not missed a beat since. Then I guess if we skip forward to 2021, which I know is quite a big gap because I was at that school till 2015, and then in between 2015 and 2021, nothing really interesting happened in my fandom. I would go to the occasional wrestling show with family or friends, but in 2021, obviously we were knee-deep in the COVID-19 pandemic, and I just basically, for something to do during one of the various lockdowns, decided I'm going to start a YouTube channel. Those of you that remember my YouTube channel will remember that back in the early days, it was just literally, as the name suggests, my good self, Tom, talking rubbish about anything and everything. But I started to find my niche in sort of the summer of 2021 when I began interviewing like my carers and people that I knew about how the pandemic had affected them. And then one night, I believe it was in the July of 2021, I stuck up this video just basically saying, if the world worked out cool, these are 10 people that I'd love to interview. And Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic somehow saw it and basically sent me a DM that night being like, if you want to do it, I will edit it, use Zoom for you, and help you. I was like, okay. In hindsight, guys, I should have been a bit more prepared for this interview, and because Adam gave me 2 dates at the time. He gave me that evening or a couple of days down the line. I should have said to him, can we do this a couple of days down the line? And basically taken some time to prepare. Because if you watch that interview back, I am a fanboy. Hopefully, the person who's editing this will be able to put a clip in of that interview, but I am a massive fanboy. I even had this shirt on, which was my Cultaholic shirt, and I just felt like a big fanboy and a fish out of water.
It is your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and Adam is looking at me like I'm a melon, and I am fine with that. I cannot believe I am saying this, but I have the man, the myth, the absolute legend, that is Mr. Adam Pacitti.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Tonight.
It's great to be here.
I cannot believe I'm saying this. Like, you know what a big fan of yours I am. Not, like, I don't want it to seem like I'm just a big fan of your work, but all of the Cultaholic boys and girls?
Except Andrew, obviously.
So I reached out to Cass, just being like, I'd love to tell your wrestling journey. Same as I have with everyone else and people like that. And people in the wrestling media. And he was like, yeah, cool, let's do a podcast. And then this is how WrestleWatch came to be on bodyslam.net. I got a DM from Cass basically saying, dude, I love doing the podcast with you. I want to bring you on to Bodyslam to do a show. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, was this sent to the right person? And I remember about a week later, I sent him, I think we may have had a Zoom call. Where I basically said to him, I don't have any friends to watch wrestling with, so I would love to basically each week we take a match and we watch it and then we talk about it. We basically do director's commentary. And he was down for that idea, and I've had a lot of fun doing that project with Cass. And then, so I guess if we talk about where my fandom is at this point, I watch a lot of AEW. I watch some WWE. I watch everything basically through social media and stuff like that. But my main outlet is AEW, just due to the fact that it's quite easy for me to access. And I think it's a very enjoyable product. Have I enjoyed it as much? I have enjoyed it as much since the new year, but was there a period that I didn't enjoy it? Yes. But I feel like that's going to be everyone's fandom. So AEW is basically my jam at the moment. I will watch WWE from time to time. Basically, I will pick out everything from wrestling and just stuff like that, really. I guess as we look at wrapping this up, guys, we should do a segment which I do with my guests called Generic Questions. Those of you that have seen my videos before will know this is where I ask my guest, or I'm going to tell you my favourite match, my favourite pay-per-view, my favourite wrestler's theme song, and my favourite tag team and favourite wrestler of all time. So first of all, my favourite match of all time changes quite regularly, and if I recorded this again tomorrow, it might be different, but I love my favourite match currently is Dustin Rhodes versus Cody Rhodes from AEW Double or Nothing 2019. I think the reason why I love this match so much is having been a lifelong WWE fan and seeing how, I don't want to say poorly booked, but how WWE never really capitalised on a feud for the Rhodes brothers. That it basically, I feel like it was a missed opportunity, and for lack of a better word, their loss was AEW's gain. And I love how they told the story of Dustin's leg being injured and the old veteran trying to just do one more match and stuff like that. And I really enjoy like the blood in this match. I'm not normally a big fan of blood in my wrestling, but I feel like with the story they were trying to tell with Dustin and like this being his last stand, quote unquote, I really feel like that was a really good choice. And overall, that's why it's my favourite match. My favourite pay-per-view of all time would be, this is one I've never really thought about, and I can understand why my guests get stumped at times. But my favourite pay-per-view would be, it would either be Revolution 2019 from AEW, where AEW basically had a flawless card in my opinion, because you had the MJF Cody match, you had a very cool Dustin Rhodes match versus Jake Hager, you had Jericho Moxley for the world title, you had and basically I really enjoyed this show. But my main favourite pay-per-view? I don't know. That's a hard one for me. I definitely think Mania 26 is up there because it's what rekindled my love for wrestling. And that is probably the hardest question for me to answer. My favourite wrestler's theme is, it's either Cult of Personality for CM Punk, Cody Rhodes' theme, or it's either there's so many. Again, I understand why my guests struggle with these questions, but it's definitely Bryan Danielson's WWE theme I really enjoy. As I say, there's so many themes I enjoy. My favourite tag team of all time, I'm sorry, but that's an easy one. That is FTR. I really enjoy their work as a tag team and how they blend so seamlessly with many other teams from different styles. With different styles and different looks and whatever words you want to use. I just really enjoy FTR's work. Some of my favourite matches from them have got to be obviously their series with the Briscoes, R.I.P. Jay Briscoe. Believe it or not, the Revival versus and then DIY has got to be some of my favourite matches in NXT. And then finally, my favourite wrestler is Bryan Danielson, without a doubt. I loved his underdog story in WWE, trying to get to Mania 30, and was so invested and quite insulted when he wasn't in the Rumble in 2014, I do remember actually a story for that. Me and Brandon basically we watched that and we got in trouble for swearing, like, and basically freaking out because he wasn't in the Rumble when we watched it, and we were like, yeah, no, that's not great. And then I loved his Planet's Champion run in WWE, and then I love what he's doing in WWE, which is currently in AEW at time of recording, which is essentially we are on the road to MJF, Bryan Danielson in the one-man Iron Man match, and he's just having great bloody matches every week. So those are my answers to my generic questions, guys. I guess as we wrap this up, we will do my wrap-up question, which is one piece of content I want to be remembered for, one piece of content that I don't want to be remembered for, and basically the piece of content I want to be remembered for is, there's a few interviews, but I think one that would have aired recently is my interview with Fiona from Inside the Ropes. I'm going to name 3. My interview with Fiona from Inside the Ropes, where she was, basically we discussed her alcoholism and how that's affected her fandom and how things like that really. Another one is my interview with Jason Solomon from the Solomons to Sound Off, where he basically discussed being consistent as a creator. And another one is my interview with Will Washington from Grapsody about why he left RBR. One thing I do really like about all my interviews, guys, is how open my guests have been. But the interview I really do not want to be remembered for, like I say, is my interview with Adam Pacitti. Unfortunately, I feel like, going back now, if I could prepare better, I would. But let me know some of your favourite interviews in the comments below, guys. And as we wrap this up, guys, I want to say thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the subscribes, likes, comments, and everything in between. Let me know who you want to see on a future episode of Tom Talks Rubbish. And let me know some of your favourite moments and things from the channel. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.